Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Your Excellencies, distinguished participants and guests in this gathering, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be here to take part in this event that is devoted to strengthening the ties between Europe and the Arab world in the spheres of politics, business and investment. I find it particularly fitting that the venue for this conference is here in Athens, and that it is taking place at a time when Greece has the presidency of the Council of the European Union. I say this because of the close relationship that has always existed between Greece and the lands that are now part of the Arab world, a relationship that stretches way back for more than 2,000 years. Athenians, Spartans, Cretans, Trojans, and others of the Hellas were frequent traders, settlers, and often conquerors in North Africa and in the Eastern Mediterranean. They established cities such as Alexandria and Byblos that still bear their names. Some of their adventures and odysseys in those regions have been beautifully recorded in Homeric works. Even in recent times, Greek populations have dotted the landscape in many parts of the Arab world. Many Egyptians and other Arabs still recall with fondness and nostalgia the Greek communities of traders, businessmen, shopkeepers, artisans, painters, and sculptors that were in their midst. Even though they remained attached to their Greek heritage, they integrated seamlessly into the fabric of Arab life. Indeed, some even got to be among those in the forefront of Arab nationalism. It was George Antonius who wrote the classical work, The Arab Awakening, in which he admonished the Arabs to be on their guard against colonial designs. In the fields of learning, the Greek enriched the area's knowledge and spread their scientific and mathematical skills. Eventually, a number of intellectual hubs in the region became centers in which many aspiring Greek thinkers and scientists also flocked. It was to Alexandria that the young Archimedes was sent to study mathematics with his students of Euclid. Indeed, so many Egyptians to this day are proud of their historic connection to Greece that some of them claim that it was out of a bathtub in Alexandria and not in Syracuse that Archimedes jumped and shouted Eureka when a solution to a mathematical puzzle that bedeviled him dawned on him while taking a bath. Many centuries later, it was the Arabs who became the proud standard bearers of Greek thought. They translated the works of Plato, Aristotle, and others, and their writings and commentaries on Greek philosophers' tracts eventually became the standard European references that brought about a rediscovery and revival of Greek thought in Europe after a long period of medieval eclipse. It was indeed this Arab transmission of Greek learning that laid the foundation for the European Renaissance. At the political level, as the Secretary General of the Arab League just said, the relationship between Greece and the Arab world has been very, very close indeed. There have not been any issues of contention between them, and they have a similarity of outlooks on many world and regional issues. The Arabs have been perennially thankful for the position that Greece has always taken in regard to the Palestinian rights. Given their knowledge of the history of the Mediterranean basin, consecutive Greek governments have refused to succumb to external pressures and have continued to adhere to their principled stance. So thank you, Greece, for that position. Furthermore, and in a wider context, Greece has been in forefront of advocacy for close relationship between the European Union and the Arab world. Similarly, the Arab countries have never accepted the partition of Cyprus and have refused to recognize the independence of its northern Turkish enclave. I hope my Turkish friends next door don't get upset from the statement. On the economic level, trade and investment between the Arab world and Greece have been growing every year. This has been particularly the case between Greece and the countries of the GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council, whose businessmen have been scouting the Greek landscape for opportunities in which to invest in. I, for one, have been very closely eyeing the Greek tourism sector, and as I believe that it will continue to grow. I spent some time last summer in Greece investigating the hotel industry, and upon my return to Saudi Arabia, have urged a number of my Saudi compatriots to examine very closely the Greek real estate and tourism sectors. I am delighted this has borne fruit, particularly with the recent Saudi-led acquisition of the iconic Astir Palace Hotel. Other Arab investors have also been active in that regard. They have also invested in a variety of other Greek sectors, including energy, mining, banking, to mention a few only. Needless to say, this represents confidence in the future of Greek economy and faith in the resourcefulness, creativity, and resilience of the Greek people. There's no doubt, of course, that they and their economy have been going through a very rough patch and that they have been enduring a lot of pain. But I and many in my country are convinced that things are being turned around at this stage. The austerity measures that the Greek government has had to adopt are gradually being eased, and the latest figures indicate that the Greek economy is registering very promising gains indeed. Allow me to enumerate a few of those changes. Number one, Greece has made substantive progress in the fiscal consolidation. Two, all indications are that the protracted recessions have bottomed out. Three, current account deficit has disappeared with a surplus of 0.7 of GDP in the last year, 2013. Four, financial conditions are steadily improving. Five, there has been very solid fiscal performance and the banking system has been stabilized. Six, the April bond sale just this month has been extremely successful with a, relatively speaking, very low interest rate. All in all, therefore, the outlook for Greece looks to me and many others to be exceedingly promising. Sensing this, there's no wonder that several business delegations from Saudi Arabia and other members of the GCC have been visiting Greece, and as some of you may know, a number of those visits have been organized by the Arab Hellenic Chamber of Commerce and Development in Athens. The commercial relationship between Saudi Arabia and Greece is not only governed by a bilateral treaty, but it's also subject to a 1988 cooperation agreement between the GCC and the European Union. It was hoped that this agreement would be built upon and lead to a free trade arrangement between the European Union and the GCC. Regrettably, however, despite more than 2 decades of negotiations between the two sides, that goal has not been reached yet. The discussions have been bogged down by a number of issues that, strictly speaking, have nothing to do with trade. Despite this lack of progress, however, economic relations between the two sides have continued to expand. Even though most of their populations are comparatively small, the GCC countries have become the European Union's sixth largest export market in the world. Furthermore, the EU is now the GCC's largest trading partner, with trade between two regions having increased by more than 50% over the past 7 years. Economic and trade relations between the European Union and other countries of the Arab world, chiefly the North African ones, have also continued to grow as a result of the cooperative arrangements that were established subsequent to the Euro-Mediterranean Partnership that was set in 1995. There is no doubt that the security and immigration concerns on the part of the European Union countries played a role in expediting those arrangements. Greece, of course, has been very active in developing its own links with a number of those North African states. And I'll leave that opportunity for my friend, the Prime Minister of Morocco, to elaborate on that further. As an example, Greece is now the 5th largest European investor in Egypt, with more than $3 billion invested capital. On the other hand, Egyptian capital has also flowed to Greece. Gratifying as this may be, the current trade and direct investment between specific European countries and some individual Arab states remain very small. As an example, the flow of Greek exports to my country, Saudi Arabia, is exceedingly limited in scale. It represents only 1.4% of overall Greek exports worldwide. Likewise, there is precious little Saudi Arabia supplies Greece with, be it in the commodities or investments beyond oil. Yes, yet, as I have been pointing out to my Saudi business friends, there are so many potential rewarding Greek sectors in which to invest in, particularly when one takes into account the fact that, given its strategic location, Greece affords a gateway, an entry point for Saudi companies to gain access to the markets of the countries in Southern and Central Europe. All of those possibilities and many more convince me that the outlook for even close relationship between the European Union and specifically Greece and the Arab world is exceedingly bright. As I mentioned before, the links and interactions between the Europeans and those of the Middle East stretch back for thousands of years. And as in the past, their future destinies are fated to continue to remain intertwined. And given this age of interdependence, our task must be to facilitate cooperation and to create synergies that can promote only prosperity, but also harmony in every sphere. And rest assured, I will do my best to strengthen that further. The potential for this is, to me, apparent wherever I look. All that is indeed is for us to work in unison and to collectively marshal the immense and very complementary resources that our countries have. Being the perennial optimist, as I am convinced that our best years are ahead and that the goal that we are all covet can be within our grasp. And I shall always be ready to work with you to reach that desired end. Indeed, my visit to Athens today will include the meeting with Prime Minister and his dignitaries, his ministers, and I'll be visiting some hospitality sites for a potential four-season presence here. So thank you very much.